Often we have the situation that a company has a very good product or service, but they are very focused on that product, not really on the market.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Very well, welcome to the Swisspreneur Show. It's the first time we have three guests here in the same room, basically. We have Alex, the managing director or owner of Silverbogen. We have Lukas, the head of UBS Growth, and also Tom, the head of the SEF Growth initiative. Very well, welcome to all three of you. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you very much.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
So Alex, you studied business administration. Was that your clear path to an entrepreneurial life?
No, not at all, actually. For a long time, I didn't really know what to do in life, so I was not really sure if I want to go and study architecture or being a military pilot or going for business.
That's a pretty diverse option that you can select from. So what made you choose the entrepreneurial path?
Yeah, I went to the army for 1.5 years, and there I figured out that I don't really want to stay much longer in the army as it's a huge corporation and was not really that what I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And architecture was in the end not the one study which really triggered the plug, and therefore I was thinking I could do something more on my own and maybe figure out something what could be done in the future.
Makes sense. You also come from a family of business owners. In what way have these role models also shaped your career choice? Was it sort of a pressure to also go down that path, or was it more like, oh yeah, I want to do anything but not become a business owner? In what way has this entrepreneurial family background also shaped you?
I never really had a clear path, as I said before, but the thing is, it just helped to open my eyes. So I was sure that there's something else than just having a professional career path in a big organization. Mm-hmm. And that was actually more the point which was important for me, that it's something else also out there and not just the ordinary.
Got it. And then after your studies, you chose to join the beverages business instead of the real estate company that your family owned. So tell us, how did you end up in beverages as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, my younger brother Raphael was in St Petersburg for a study exchange. And when he came back after 5 months, he had 4 bottles of vodka with him. And one of them we really liked. And shortly after that, we started the company and started to import the first 2 pallets of Beluga Vodka and stored them in the garage from our parents and started to sell them out. So it was more as a idea, and when we started the university, that we could also figure out a little bit what we learn, also to try, and it was not really the big business behind it. So it was more the focus of studying and trying it out and trial and error, so not that far out.
And to a certain degree, you also solved your own problem. So you wanted to have more of that vodka, so you had to import it yourself.
Yeah, I'm not a big drinker, actually. So it was more, we just saw a market opportunity there and thought that could play out, yeah.
And tell us a bit about these early days. So you just focused on these 2 vodka brands, or how did it go afterwards? Like, you have to start somewhere, right? So how were the early days where you said, okay, we're going to really start that business?
In the beginning, it was difficult. I mean, we didn't have any clue which competitors are in the market, is the pricing structure, what is legal to be done with spirits. So that took quite a while to figure out all these steps, and that was the main thing. And then we figured out we have to build more brands because just one product to sell is difficult. Mm-hmm. And then we eventually started to build a full portfolio.
Got it. Let's also talk a bit about the market. Lukas, as the head of the UBS Growth Advisory, you screen companies and also spot market trends. And, if we take a step back, if you look back at the year 2010, 2014, this time basically, how did the beverages market look like back then? I know this is not your specialty per se, but I'm sure you have some analysis and points to share in that regard.
No, definitely, thanks for the question. So I think, first of all, market dynamics always play an important role in the assessment of a young company, since you have to figure out, if the growth forecast somehow, matches with, the market growth and the potential. So, and I think back then, when Silverbogen started and also a bit later when the drinks e-commerce platform was launched, they were at the right spot, right? At the right place at the right time, as you say, because it was really the time when market trends shifted away from like mass brands and further to smaller niche brands, craft producers, which was difficult for like large importers or also large distributors to really cater for. And Silverbogen found a concept, how to do that and jumped into that niche. And since then benefits from the trend that is still ongoing in the market.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing these insights. One thing you also did, Alex, is basically you also went online pretty early in the time. So how did you manage to go online? And was that also a challenge per se?
Yeah, when we went online, we started to grow with a larger wholesale portfolio. And that was actually in the beginning quite difficult. Usually also the same thing with international brands. It's everything about trust to really get those brands and that you can convince them to do a different route to market. That was one of the biggest hurdles to do an appealing portfolio. Mm-hmm. And then everything else was more about getting into IT marketing. That was more a different route and it used different dynamics and insights.
So the first challenge was not the setup of the online channel per se, but attracting the right brands.
Yes, there was one difficult spot, and also how do we really figure out is there really a market need for spirits online?
Right. So let's quickly talk about the brand appearances on your platform, basically. This seems a bit to be like the chicken and egg problem. I can imagine the big brands, they want to join your platform, but only if you have a significant amount of sales. Otherwise, it's not worth their effort. But you have to start somewhere with probably lower or almost zero sales on an online platform. So how do you convince them to join your platform?
In the beginning, it was really the focus on B2B. So we did the platform actually to solve a problem on our side, because when we started with about 500 SKU products, we used or needed an online ordering tool because a lot of people misspelled, for instance, Tanqueray. So that really, the client really gets the product he orders, as there are a lot of options. And that we solved with the e-commerce platform. And when we were building the whole system, it was also obvious that we can use it for direct consumers. That was actually the main goal, to do so.
Nice. And I can imagine that, the industry, the beverages industry, was still probably taking place offline back in the days. Why was it a bit resistant to the digitization from your perspective at first?
I mean, it still does. Last year, there was only 3% online from spirits. Now it shifted a little bit more. So you have a whole chunk, so about 50% of the whole volume is going to bars and restaurants, and the other 50 is for private consumers. And in the beginning, it was just difficult to convince those brands to collaborate, also to get the right pricing to work with them, because we distribute to wholesalers, to on-trade accounts, bars, and private consumers. So we have 3 different kind of price structures. And that made it not that easy in the beginning when you have low volumes to get to certain volume, which we did with some B2B clients. And that helped actually to manage to achieve that for direct consumers.
Got it. And you also mentioned that you had to find out if there's a market demand for the B2C online spirits market. How do you go about that? Because that's like, you probably have a lot of hypotheses that you want to test. So how do you go about the testing and validation of the market?
Yeah, the good thing for us was actually we came from the B2B side and we focused mainly on that. So everything which we added on B2C was additional for us. So we didn't have a structure which really cared about private consumers, and that just started. And when we saw it grew, then we added more focus to it. Mm-hmm. So it was for us actually quite good. If we just would have focused solely on that would be quite a risk and quite expensive also to do so.
Right. So you serve the B2B and B2C market. We wonder in the B2C market, in your online shop, is there any typical customer that you can name? Do you have any data on this?
Yeah, it changed a lot now with COVID. I mean, now, which is quite funny, is actually the customer group 65 plus grew the most. So it's the second largest customer base now from us. Before it was like number 3 and 4. And so that's more important. And they have larger basket size, typical silver servers. But they order everything. I mean, sometimes they order everything which has black bottles or golden bottles. Sometimes you find only glassware or gins, but then you have clients, they just reorder everything. Gifts, so there is not a specific client who orders just like this bottle and that tonic for it. So it varies a lot.
That's very interesting. I wouldn't have expected the 65 plus age group being your largest one. How do you actually acquire them? Do you reach them on Facebook with social media ads, or how do you acquire them as customers?
Usually we only spend marketing money on performance. So we just track and optimize that. So we don't really invest in branding. Therefore, a lot is coming from Google, retargeting, and yes.
Fantastic. So we would also like to address some challenges, and therefore we have Tom from the Swiss Economic Forum here. You're the head of the SEF Growth initiative and assess numerous companies every year. And I just wonder, what are usually the biggest challenges that you see in SEF Growth companies?
Well, it mainly comes down to three things all the time. So first thing is the cash handling is, of course, always critical. And as a young company, you don't always have necessarily a CFO in place already. So, and you're always short a bit, right? So starting a business. So that's one critical point which we always address. And so the other thing is that market orientation, which is not always given, as in the case of Alex now, who did really understand how the market goes, especially the B2B business. So often we have the situation that a company has a very good product or service, but they are very focused on that product, not really on the market. So if this is really the product that the market needs at that very moment, or maybe the market is not ready yet for it. So this is often the case. And third thing is the team building is often going a bit behind. So you should think ahead and build up your team before you actually need it. You know, when you come into a growth phase, it goes very fast, and you need stable structures. And so this is a thing we always see as a big challenge.
Fantastic. So let's also figure out how you solve these challenges, Alex. We talked a bit about the product market fit, that this was a natural shift for you to go online. But I can imagine that the cash handling and also the team are still challenges that you had to solve along the way. So how do you go about the cash and liquidity management at your company?
I mean, it's still a challenge today. I mean, we grow quite fast every year, and therefore our warehouse grows on the same pace. Obviously, we can optimize several things, but in the end, stock levels are increasing. So that's something you always have to optimize with suppliers. Where can you have shorter delivery times? What do you have products you can sell with higher margins to optimize to get a better cash flow on that side? So it's a daily business we need to optimize.
Yeah. And team-wise, you know, as the company grows, you usually also need to hire more people to be able to also grow as a company. How do you handle that challenge?
Yeah, it's not only about more people, it's also about people with the right mindset. And in every stage, you need different people. In the beginning, we had more people. They were like really hands-on and could handle everything, like all-rounders. And today, we're shifting more into specialists. They're really strong in their part, and that also was quite different to do the whole change from the early stage to today, and it still is. And the whole company is key that people also bring their own people around and motivate themselves. So it's every team is really depending on itself, and that's actually the big challenge for the company. But we have a great team, and therefore I'm very happy about that. And every day when we work together, that's great.
How many people do you employ at the moment?
At the moment, we have 30 full-time employees and 10 freelancers.
Great. And in what areas do you now start to specialize? Like, what are the areas where you say, here we really do need the specialist and not the generalist anymore?
It's, IT department, obviously, then finance. It's a little bit everywhere, actually. It's not that we have so many positions anymore where we can have all-rounders. Sometimes in the warehouse it's possible, but it's still there. You have a different kind of jobs and stuff you need to solve, but it's a little bit outdated from the stage now for us.
Many other startups face the same challenges of, finding the right people to join your company. Do you have any hiring or recruiting tips? Like, where did you find the right people to join Silverbogen, or how do you actually assess them if it's a good fit? Any tips on the hiring part?
At the moment, we just found 2 new team members on LinkedIn, and it was actually great. But it also depends on which level you're looking for. For warehouse people, there is jobs.ch where you find a lot of people. But if you go more high level, it's, I think, definitely LinkedIn.
And how do you do that? Do you do a custom search and then say, okay, these are interesting profiles, let's get in touch with them? Or do you make a post and then people get in touch with you? What's your tactic there?
There's a LinkedIn, career page, something like that.
Right.
So you can figure out all that. You get all the CVs. You can manage everything from there. So that's great. And you just need to pay for the advertising to spread.
Perfect. I think that's a good takeaway for other startups facing the similar challenge. Tom, we also see that the markets change. Looking back at 2010, 2014, it's probably not the same market today in 2021 anymore as it was back in the day. So what trends, what shifts have you seen happening in the beverages market?
Yeah, we did a bit of research also based on statistics of the Federal Customs Administration. And so what we see in general is that the consumption of alcohol is decreasing a bit over the years. And as far as I am informed, the spirits are around 20% of the consumption. So it's mainly beer and wine, which is consumed. And there is around 20% of domestic spirit products and 80% still imported. But it's interesting to see for domestic products that in Switzerland, the number of producers is in the kind of the classic spirits like Flümli and stuff like that. It seems to be going down. Mm-hmm. But so this has been a shift to gin and whiskey producers. And a lot of them are very small businesses, so micro businesses. And so the market is getting more and more fragmented. And this is a challenge for all these kind of supply chains. And this is where Alex is stepping in with his knowledge and logistics, where he can, it's perfectly fitting his solution to the market development.
Great. Thank you for that input. Alex, we heard it like the consumption of alcohol is slightly decreasing. Is that something that keeps you up at night and you think, should we go and diversify to other markets and other products, or how do you deal with that?
Yes, that's true. The only growing part we have is that more people are coming to Switzerland. But we really focused on the premium segment, and that's actually still growing quite a lot. And also with one of the largest assortment in Europe, we can really figure the market need out, that we can solve those requests from clients, that they really always have something new. And therefore, we are actually one of the best addresses to go to in Switzerland.
Did you adapt or change your strategy in any ways from, back in the beginnings to now with these changes happening in the market to a more fragmented market? Did that also require any strategy changes or adaptations on your side?
Yes, definitely. We started as an exclusive importer for one brand, and we figured out to do more brands, because with just one brand you can't pay your bills. And then we just saw the whole premiumization, that there are so many brands are popping up, that we need to evolve also our strategy. How can we change that? And therefore we moved our focus from just being an importer to also being a wholesaler and providing this kind of distribution to our B2B and B2C clients.
Great. And you also recently achieved a milestone. You expanded to Germany. I can imagine, being a milestone, that can also be a challenge by itself. So how did you pull that off? How did you manage to expand to Germany? Why was it the right step for you?
Yeah, I never really wanted to go abroad, because I always wanted to to build out our national market and be strong there. But what we figured out more was there was no real European platform which sells everything throughout whole Europe. And there was quite a big market need, especially from producers. And that actually was the idea to step in to do and build something like that, because we built quite a strong IT system on our side, and we could scale that out to Europe. And Germany was actually the best test market to do so.
And how do you go about that test? Did you just say, hey, let's roll it out from Switzerland and just test it and acquire the first sales? Or how do you do such a test? Because you still have a physical product to ship. It's not like software where you can sell it to all over the world, basically.
Yes, we try to do it as lean as possible. So we did customs declaration digitally, and we shipped them out from Switzerland and had a logistic partner collecting all the parcels every day from our Swiss warehouse and bringing them to DHL in Germany. that was quite a hassle in the beginning, and it was also not that easy with the whole custom situation. And but it showed that there was a market need, and also our platform will work. And we figured a little bit out how the German customer is taking and what's different. And then in March last year, so 1 year later, we found our daughter company, and now we have a 2,500 square meter warehouse in Krefeld near Düsseldorf.
Yeah, that's probably the logical next step, that if the test is successful, you have to take, right?
Yes, right.
So it was already in 2016 when you actually submitted an application for the SEF High Potential Quality label. So my question to you, Tom, why should startups participate in the SEF Growth initiative?
Well, as the name says the program focused on growth, SEF Growth, so growth companies, so a bit later stage companies, and we see a lot of offerings in the market for early stage companies or companies who are not even founded yet. So, but for this segment of growing companies, this program is designed. And we work with experienced entrepreneurs, which we have a wide network in the Swiss Economic Forum network. And we bring these senior managers together with young entrepreneurs so that they can discuss their strategy and challenge that, and also the financial plans and what makes sense, what doesn't. So that's the main thing about the program, actually. And as you said, you can actually win this kind of award, this quality label, which basically says that this group of entrepreneurs thinks or believes in the strategy and in the potential of the company. And so with this label, we also have a wide range of partner offerings that we then can address to these companies to support them. For example, with our main partner, UBS, but also with our other partners.
Perfect. And Alex, why was this program appealing to you? Why did you actually apply in the first place?
I mean, obviously, financially, it was for us quite difficult to build the whole presence and the big assortment we had to go along. And for us, it was a big challenge just to get some credit from a bank. And that was actually our main focus.
Yeah, so really to solve this cash flow problem that we mentioned before.
Yes, right.
Fantastic. So Tom, you also invest a significant amount of time in actually the selection process of these companies. So how does that process look like, and how do you actually assess a company? Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yes. So first off, what I have to say that the program is basically it's free of charge, and it's open to everyone, or to every kind of company. But of course, there are some kind of KPIs which you should bring along. So as I said, you should be in a growth phase or entering a growth phase with your company, and you do have to bring along first customers, and you also need a clear positioning in the market, and you have to bring along a plan that actually shows your growth potential and how you want to finance that. So these are a couple of KPIs we are looking at when a candidate comes in. And after that, as I said, it's the main aspect is this assessment we're doing with these entrepreneurs we bring along. And we have a catalog of around 40 criteria, which we then assess and discuss with the candidates. And there is also a written report after this assessment for the candidate to really see. It's like a 360-degree analysis of the company and the strategy and the team and the financial plans and everything it takes. So, but that's the process.
Is there a certain revenue size that you would recommend, like below 1 million revenue doesn't make sense to apply for the program, or anything of that sort?
Yeah, we usually start around 500,000 revenue a year.
Okay, perfect. Now, Lukas, we heard it, UBS is the founding partner of the SEF Growth initiative. And one of the benefits is also when you receive the Swiss Economic Forum label, you also get access to funding or to credits by UBS. So I'm just interested, why is UBS partaking in a project like SEF Growth?
Yeah, so as we said, I'm back in 2012. It's already more than 8 years ago. UBS was the founding partner together with the SEF. And the motivation was manifold for UBS. Obviously, first of all, we want to strengthen our positioning in the SME and startup market. And as the largest Swiss bank, we also want to show like a clear commitment to entrepreneurs in the growth phase. And we thought we are predestined to do this, right? And the whole offering as it is today, SEF Growth, is still innovative today because at the end of the day, it allows companies to get funding credit at a stage where they would usually not get any credit in the open market. So I think it is still a very unique program. targeted at growth stage companies. And clearly, SEF as a partner was also one of the motivations due to the strong reputation of the organization and the high-profile industry experts and the entrepreneurs they have in their network.
Fantastic. Just a side question here from my side. Despite the top quality vetting and the also receiving the award and the quality check basically by multiple really established entrepreneurs and people, has it ever happened that the plan didn't work out and that you then had a bank loan that was not paid back?
I mean, actually, it did happen, but very rarely so. I think, when you look at young companies, of course, the risks are higher, right, obviously. And yes, it happened, but overall, if you look at the whole portfolio, it performs very well, and that is at the end of the day proof that the selection process works and that we are actually getting the right companies, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed by the amount or also the companies that have been selected. It's really a top quality selection and also really de-risks the whole selection that you make there. So I think that's great.
That's true. I mean, it's really across all sectors, that plays a big role. Different type of business models with different risk profiles. That's of course also key if you run such a credit portfolio. Yeah.
So in order to get the SEF label awarded, you had to, vet them and assess them. So Tom, what made Silverbogen actually stand out amongst the other applicants?
Well, I mean, he was really a first mover in that time when he applied for the SEF procedures, and but what we heard is that he's very strong in the B2B business, and Alex really understands the market needs, which is one thing I mentioned before is very important, and he already showed that at this time, and now the last couple of years he's proven right that he had the right direction. And of course, an online business always has advantages regarding also for the B2C sector with the range you can offer, and so there are many advantages in his business model could be seen at this point of time then.
Is there any killer feature, any USP that you particularly liked among the application of Silverbogen?
Well, basically that he is doing business with B2B and B2C sector is of course helping him, as we heard also now in the COVID situation when B2B was a bit lower, so B2C could jump in, and he's really strong in both sides. And as I said, he has a very good and profound understanding of the market, and that's maybe the one point that really stands out.
Got it. And Lukas, from your perspective, how do you assess Silverbogen's potential? What do you think is, still possible for them?
Well, I think there's still a lot possible, right? I mean, Alex already pointed out some of the strategic moves he's making. I mean, first of all, the track record and the growth trajectory of Silverbogen is really outstanding. If we see how it developed and also how the budget and the forecasts were almost completely met. I mean, we see this not that often, right? I mean, so that's first of all, a big congratulations also to Alex. And I think, the company is still on the pulse of the trends, right? And that is key in this market. And then it has a clear focus on its USPs, which is, excellence in logistics, for example, good understanding of online marketing and, again, stay up to date with the assortment, the offering. They recently introduced wine, to enlarge the average basket size even more. I think, there's a lot of interesting expansion potential still ahead. And with the new fulfillment center or warehouse in Germany, it is a big step, to enter a market that is many times bigger than Switzerland.
And, we heard it before, the bank credit was one thing that you were able to help them with. In what other ways has UBS been able to help Silverbogen along the journey so far?
No, I mean, UBS has a full corporate banking offering here in Switzerland. SEF Growth is an initiative targeted at the companies, in the growth stage, before they, let's say, become a regular credit client. That started back in 2017, this financing relationship. But of course, there's other services that we can help with. First of all, when you expand abroad, you have FX topics, you have payment transaction topics. When it goes cross border, currency hedging is an example. That becomes more and more important when you operate internationally. And last but not least, we also support in strategic transactions. Naming fundraising, M&A, or also potential exits, of founders. Yeah.
Perfect. So Alex, of course, we also want to hear from you, your perspective. So how have you actually benefited from the SEF Growth initiative so far?
In the beginning, as a young founder, it's always tricky to be enough solvent to get credit of a bank. So everyone just looks the past, and you can't really offer that much. Yeah. So with the whole SEF high potential label, it was turned around, and it was not the past which was validated, and it was the potential, and that was actually the big advantage we received with it.
And usually you also get quite some press coverage if you get that label awarded. Did you also, see any spike in online traffic or anything of that sort?
We were not that strong in 2017 then, but it was great. I mean, to get some trust from B2B clients. That was more about that. Also with the SQS label you receive, I mean, it was helpful for us in B2B clients, yes.
So it's basically a signaling and a trust builder also in that regard.
Yes.
So now we are also very curious what your plans look like for the future. So you enter Germany. Do you plan to expand to any other markets or roll out further north to Germany? Or what are your plans with Silverbogen?
So now we still have a lot to do in Switzerland, obviously. So we just started in November with wine. There's going to come a lot more. We're going to enter also other categories. Then, yes, Germany is one part. And as I said, I mean, we try to build a European platform. So there's more countries to grow in next year. So we'll see which countries coming up.
Exactly. And, Lukas also mentioned the other strategic options that UBS, the growth advisory, offers. So do you also think that a potential exit or the M&A process of another company or even fundraising would be an option for you in the future?
Exit is not an idea at the moment. I mean, there's a lot to learn and to try. So that's actually the main key, which is the driver for me. So it's not about having a bigger company or something like that. So it's just about what can you learn? What are the next steps? That's important. In other markets, we're going to build our companies from scratch because we just have different processes. So I don't think it's worthwhile for us to acquire another company to do that. But you never know. It can always change fast. So it's always good to have some know-how in the backhand.
Right. And, about fundraising, is that a topic that's also keeping you busy, or is that not relevant at the moment?
It's always a topic, but we never gave out shares, so we don't want to enter that space.
Why not?
I don't know. It just in the beginning it was not possible because as a distribution agency, there is no one really funding you. Then when we started as an e-commerce company in the beginning, we had a lot to prove, and then we had SEF Growth where we had the investment from UBS. And then the next stage, it was already that far out that they really never had this topic. And today, I just would like to keep the independency we have and also the freedom about that, because otherwise we would spend a lot of time for investor meetings and following up and keeping everyone on track. And that's also great for the whole team because everyone can decide on their own and everyone feels more entrepreneurial in their job too. So that's why it's important to keep it that way.
Well, really big respect and congratulations on that decision. That's really impressive.
Thanks.
Lukas, we heard your strong offering with the UBS Growth Advisory. So where would you like to support Silverbogen in the future? Do you have any focus area where you say that would be a really cool case to work on together?
Well, look, as I mentioned, I mean, UBS is an internationally operating bank and we can offer a lot when it comes to financial services for corporate clients here in Switzerland, but also abroad. We, for example, also have corporate client desks in the European Union, in the US, in Asia. So there's a lot of potential support options here. I mean, at the end of the day, it depends on the strategy of the company and what they really need. I mentioned a couple of product options before, but there's, of course, many options for us to support them. And we're happy to be the banking and financing partner of Silverbogen. And of course, look forward to continue supporting the growth story of the company.
So are we. It's an exciting journey that lies ahead of us. And the last part that we have prepared for you are some rapid fire questions. We're going to just start with you, Lukas. I either give you a choice or a short question and you can make your choice or explain it in one sentence. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So for you, is it rapid growth or profitability?
It depends. It depends on the founders and the investor strategy, I would say, right? At the very beginning, definitely growth because you need to reach a critical size.
Tom, for you, bootstrapped company or VC-backed company?
Maybe one after the other. So I think bootstrapped is interesting to see what you actually really created yourself with your limited means. And but at a certain point, of course, it can be good or necessary to move for a VC backing.
Right. And for you, Alex, Switzerland or Germany?
Switzerland. Just because the roots are here. But Germany is interesting as a new market to discover. But I mean, the heartbeat is for Switzerland.
Makes sense. And the last question is for all of you. Let's start with you first, Tom. What's your favorite drink or spirit?
Well, I go with the market trend and stay with beer usually, but sometimes I like to taste some whiskey or rum as well.
What is it for you, Alex?
Negroni.
Perfect. And Lukas?
I'm more in the field of Tom, so I would probably, when I'm thirsty, prefer a cold beer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today and for the great discussion, conversation. Tom, Alex, Lukas, thank you so much for taking the time and for being here.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, you can support us by rating our show on Apple Podcasts. This way, we can reach an ever-growing number of aspiring entrepreneurs.